Hello, welcome to this session on effective ways to deal with energy vampires. Thanks for joining in, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, your busy evening to join the YouTube Live. So, again, this program is sponsored by Laurel Ridge, and I am going to share with you their services, the little clip about their services.
Sponsored by Laurel Ridge Treatment Center. Laurel Ridge Behavioral Health Program offers compassionate care for every stage of life. It provides personalized treatment for all populations. Their interest is to help you into your journey to wellness. There are services for children, adolescents, adults, military dependents, active duty service members, veterans, and first responders. They offer inpatient services, outpatient services, substance abuse treatment, and residential treatment. Call 210-491-3591 for no-cost assessment. Laurel Ridge is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their mission is to save lives, heal families, and create hope. This YouTube Live.
All right. Okay, welcome. And again, this evening's topic is on effective ways to deal with energy vampires. So, love to hear your questions and talk about the energy vampires that is in your life and how can you address them? How can you handle it effectively? So, feel free to share your questions and I would love to answer it. So, what are some challenges that you struggle with energy vampires? I would love to hear that. Okay, I see Joe has logged in. So let's see who else is here. So what is the definition of an energy vampire? Energy vampire is someone who continuously deplete your energy, and when you finish your transaction with that person, you feel exhausted, depleted, worn out. So who might these people be in your life? So I would love to hear, like, what are some of your struggles with energy vampires? Okay. So who might some of these people be in your life? Energy vampires have the tendency to do things that are in their best interest. Very seldom do they find time to hear you, be there for you, but they're very invested in doing things that are one sided. So things that are in their best interest. Okay, Brittany has a great question, and I'm going to read it out. Can energy vampires show up in clinical setting with a client versus our friends and family? Yes, definitely. Energy vampires show up in different form. It could be in social network or with clients. So you have to look at the energy in the clinical setting. When you find clients are drawn to dramatic stories, we're drawn to drama in their lives, drawn to one exhaustive episode to the next, and you find that they're constantly chasing the next drama, that is a sign of energy vampire. Are they here to work? Are they here to create the chaos in their lives? So as a clinician, it is important to point out the chaos that keeps showing up and the part that they play in creating that chaos. So as a clinician, point those out. What role do you play? How do you allow people, what boundaries are you setting? How are you taking care of yourselves? And so clients will show up to deplete you. And also, you as a clinician have a hierarchy, and you have to look at it. How am I being depleted by my client? So you have to think you don't want to be depleted, but you want to be enriched. So the session should be enriched and not about chasing stories, chasing dramas. Sessions should be about looking at themes, what themes show up. So it's important for you to highlight the themes. And if their theme is about depleting, victimizing, so those are the things you want to point out to the client. And when you point it out, it's a gift that you give to your client. So don't be afraid to speak up, but think of the gifts you want to give to your client. Same thing, the gift you want to give to your client could also be a gift you want to give to yourself. You want to surround yourself with people who replenish you, not people who repeatedly deplete you. Okay. All right, Carolyn, good to have you back. They are the type, look, mom, look, okay. So, like a child, they're constantly looking for validation, they're looking for acknowledgement, they're looking for people to give them accolades. So, they are constantly seeking attention. That's a sign of an energy vampire. The relationship is very one sided. True. Okay, Jill goes, I find myself being sucked into their thoughts. How do you resist the pull? That's a great question. So you're sucked into their thoughts, and the thoughts could be what? So I want to ask that. So what is the thought? Like my guess is you're seduced into their story. You're seduced into their drama. You're seduced into the gory details. This happened, that happened, and it's one episode after another. So if you find yourself being seduced, you have to think, okay, what trap am I falling into when I allow people to seduce me? So why is drama important? So you have to think, you know, is that a pattern in your life to let drama drive your transactions? It is important to engage in relationships that are calm. From time to time, we do have challenges, crises in our lives. But if we keep having a lot of drama, that's a sign that we too are part of the problem. We too need to examine ourselves and see if we let drama drive us, and is that how we want to function? So step back and evaluate how you want to your relationships to look like, how you want your relationships to function, so that you can, paint that picture. And you want that picture to reflect a calm and energizing and enriching relationship. It's not about always solving problem or being in a crisis. Healthy relationships is about having ideas, working together, being a team, um, having enriched conversations, not always from one drama, one episode to the next. Okay, Carolyn says attention seekers and post all their, yes, they post all their socials, their activities on social sites, social media. So it's about what they have done recently. So in stepping back, you want to model the relationship you want to have. So you don't want a lot of drama, you want what? Always think about what you want in a relationship, not about what you don't want. So think about, you want relationships to be enriching. You want relationships to be empowering, not depleting. If you find yourself being constantly depleted, being used, being exhausted in those relationships, you may want to think if those are the kind of relationships you want to engage in. So find time to think about what kind of relationships you want to participate in. Um, Also, you can give people gifts of pointing out, there's a lot of things going on in your life. I wonder when you slow down. So you yourself have to think about those things. When do you slow down? When do you calmly engage in relationships? What is your self talk about relationships? Do you find yourself engaging in relationships because um, those friendships are available? Or are you selective about the people that you hang out with? So make choices about who you hang out with, not just what is convenient. Okay, Carolyn goes, what can you do to tame the attention seeker? Great question. Sometimes people are not willing to give up that role as an attention seeker. They may be caught in that cycle and they have used that cycle for a long time. So that cycle may have started in their childhood, in their adolescent years. And they find it very convenient to use it because they they find that people are seduced into it. People fall for that attention seeking trap. All they have to do is carve out some story, and then people are there to rescue them. So you have to think, okay, these people, are they willing to give up that attention seeking behavior? And it may be important for you to distance yourself. Remember, you do have choices. You get to pick your friends. So we are not subject to what we are exposed to. So when you leave certain relationships that are depleting, then there's room for relationships that are healthy. So you get to decide how, the friendships that you want and the relationships that you want to have in your life. So it's not one sided. You get to have some say. So once you share with the attention seeker about what drives that need, and if you find that they repeatedly deplete you and they repeatedly engage through drama, then it may be in your best interest to find friendships that are different, find friendships that have similar values, find friendships that helps promote growth. So it's not just about, having friendships that are social, but in friendships, you want friendships um, to be about ideas, to be about working together, to be about a team. And it could be something you'll do together to enrich each other's lives through organizations. Okay, Leah goes, I find myself being seduced into their story. Yes, that is a common trap. So you are seduced into their story. So how does it usually present itself? So I would look for that. So the story comes in the form of, guess what happened? Oh, you wouldn't believe what happened. So if you see the same storyline opening each time you have a conversation and it's drama filled, know that that's a trap. So think about what is important about you falling into that trap. What is attractive about that story? And is this how you want to do friendships? Talking about one drama after another. What other things do you want your friendships to be like? So if you were not seduced into those juicy stories, those gory stories, what is the different picture of the relationship? How do you want your friendships to look like? And how do you want to preserve and protect you? So again, like everything else from what I said last week when we talk about have you abandoned yourself? So how are you being present for yourself? So don't think of friendships as something that is always about giving, about other people. In friendships, it's also about you. How are you giving to yourself? How are you enriching your life? If you find yourself giving, and you're drawn to drama, Where did you learn that training? Is it from your childhood or in your teenage years? Or is it because you're afraid to turn people down? Or is it because you fear that if you speak up, people might find your behavior offensive, and then therefore you may have few to no friends? So if you speak up and people embrace it, that's what a true friendship is about. So don't think about just friendships that are surface level. Think about what true friendship is about. Because when somebody tells you the truth, you appreciate it because it helps you grow. So in relationships, growth is important. It's not just about doing social things. You want to surround yourself with people who challenge you, who are stimulating, who add richness to your life, not just people who just repeatedly deplete. All right, Claudia, welcome back. So that's a great question. How can I maintain my inner peace when I cannot avoid somebody who constantly drains my energy? Wow, what a great question. So, how can you maintain your inner peace when you cannot avoid someone who is constantly draining your energy? Okay, very good point. So, when we cannot avoid it, it could be a family member, it could be a close relative, and that there's not many choices about that. But in those situations, I would think of how I can maintain relationships and how I can exit from those relationships. You want to give people time, but you also want to look for exits. And you want to pre plan that time with that person. Choose activities like if you're with a girlfriend, you might want to think about doing something that is productive, something that is could be for other people. So you want to select your topics, and you may want to think about questions you want to ask them so that you can have a conversation that's engaging. So in those situations when you find that it's hard to escape, I would plan it so that I have more say in how the time is spent, and I would think about questions that I would ask and direct the conversation to places that I want it to go to, and not just subject yourself to whatever shows up, because that can be very painful. So I would plan more. I would think about more questions. I would bring up projects that you can participate in, with your relative or with your friend. Then you have more say in that situation, in those situations. Okay, Samantha asks, so can do they use manipulation tactics? Yes, definitely, definitely. Yes. Because energy vampires have been doing this seductive dance for a long time, sometimes they don't know how to undo it. They don't know how to do differently. So the manipulation becomes like second nature. But you as a person in entering into that relationship, it can be very draining. And so learn to call things out. And if you want to call things out, learn to say it in a way that is professional, that speaks your truth, and allow yourself, allow you to make your point so that you are taking care of yourself. Remember, in friendships, it's a two-way cycle. It's not one way. It's not about you giving. Even with children, when you have children, don't always ask about what was their day like. How did school go? You want to be able to tell your children about your day, because you had a busy day. You have things that you work with. So don't just always be talking about them and what happened in their school. So learn to volunteer and say, yeah, today was pretty good. I got to do, got to do this. I got to finish this project and and it feels pretty good. So when you're in the situations, learn to speak up, and even with friends, after they share their story, learn to speak up and say, yeah, yeah, for my day, this was what happened. So then people know that, you are taking up space in the relationship. And so that is very important. So don't just subject yourself to being run over. Take charge and speak up about yourself, your day, plan things out. So when you find yourself in situations when you are trapped or when you're seduced into the drama, so don't punish yourself and don't be so harsh on yourself. So go think, the next time I will do this, I will do it differently. I will speak up. I will share about my day. I will plan things. I will do such and such. So then you have more proactive say in what happens when you're in a relationship with the energy vampires. Okay, Carolyn says, great advice. Recently, I've left a group of coworkers and friends, and felt a little bad about it, but never went back to them. Unfortunately, my daughter is one of those that live out of state. So sounds like your daughter can also take up energy, and so you want to. So sounds like you're doing a good job preserving your energy, and you are selective. So again, in friendships or with relatives where you find that you have little choice about being around those people, so when you are around them, choose to be selective about the amount of time that you spend with them. If you find that 2 hours is extremely painful, is too much, then think about setting up visits that is 1 hour in length. That's when you don't have a choice. And plan for things plan to do things, during the time and you have to be there, so that you can plan things out and you can be productive, and you can bring in things that is going to help you speed up the time you are with these people. Okay. All right. So now I know you have asked questions. So now I want to hear, what have you done to help preserve your energy, preserve and protect your time with energy vampires? So I know you've posted some questions. So let's hear about your thoughts. I would like to hear about it. So if you post a response, I would like to hear the options, then the suggestions you have. Okay, let's see what they are. Okay, Jill. Okay, boundaries. I have distanced myself. That's a good step. You have distanced yourself and you have done what? So another thing about being a clinician is, so you have done this, now you put an and there, A-N-D. So you've distanced yourself and you've done what? So that then it allows you to deepen your response. I've distanced myself and I have also what? So put an end at the end of your statement. So feel free to type it out, Jill. Okay. Others? So let's hear from others. You have done what? Okay, I have distanced myself. I've protected my peace. When you say you protected your peace, put it in action form. I protected my peace by doing what? So when you can put things in action form, that means, it helps create calmness in your headspace. So I have distanced myself and I have protected my time. I've limited my time with these people. So let's hear. So Claudia, don't know if you can pose. So Carolyn goes, when at work, I know who to walk away from, and I want to stay in my lane and not the gossiping lane. Awesome. Yes, yes. So you sounds like you're very selective about who you allow into your space. That is very proactive. And that is very um, important because you are making choices. So you go into the day thinking, I'm going to do these actions, I'm going to make these choices. So that is a very healthy way to preserve your protect yourself, preserve your time, preserve your energy. So those are great steps. Okay, anyone else? What have you done to protect yourself with energy vampires? Any other thoughts? Love to hear that. Okay. All right. So instead of being okay, Claudia says, I can maintain a polite but a firm attitude by limiting the length of the conversation. Yes, that is awesome. Yes, because sometimes you're put in situations where people are, you're thrown together because, there's a relative, because you have friends of a friend and you cannot avoid it. So you are polite and then you limit the amount of time you spend with these people in conversations. That's an awesome tool because you want to preserve your own integrity. You don't want to allow people to suck you dry. So by saying that, I'm doing this, this, and this, rather than just be seduced into it and complain. So you are taking steps to preserve your mental wellness. And all these things that you have suggested are awesome ideas. So I like the proactive stance. Okay, any other practices that you have done to preserve your wellness? So in thinking about working with energy vampires, think again about the opposite. What are you protecting? What are you preserving? What are you maintaining? So do things that is about what you're going to do, because then you're more likely to get there. So I like all these suggestions that has been offered. So great ideas. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. So next week, the topic is speak up and ask for what you want. So we'll look at speaking up at work, at home, with relatives, um, in social networks. So how can we speak up and ask for what you want? So bring a friend and have a question ready. Thank you for joining this session. So I am going to close with the commercial from Laurel Ridge, and I'm going to share that with you.
Live stream is sponsored by Laurel Ridge Treatment Center. Laurel Ridge Behavioral Health Program offers compassionate care for every stage of life. It provides personalized treatment for all populations. Their interest is to help you into your journey to wellness. There are services for children, adolescents, adults, military dependents, active duty service members, veterans, and first responders. They offer inpatient services, outpatient services, substance abuse treatment, and residential treatment. Call 210-491-3591 for no-cost assessment. Laurel Ridge is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their mission is to save lives, heal families, and create hope. This YouTube live stream.
Okay. Thank you so much for participating. I love the questions asked and I like the suggestions that you offered. So, again, next week, the topic is speak up and ask for what you want. So, would love to hear your questions. Bring a friend. Have an awesome, awesome evening. Thank you.